What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, Morgan Allena True Crime and Mystery. Today, Lifetime, dropped the full trailer for Gypsy Rose Blanchard's newest season 2 of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup. And I want to get into a couple of things about that and bring up a few other good points that people have made about Gypsy Rose, in particular the alcohol thing that's been kind of going around about her violating parole once again, because we all know that Gypsy pretty much gets away with a lot of parole violations, unlike a good majority, if not all, other parolees, but it is what it is. So let's get into it. Before we do, I just want to say make sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button if you have not already yet. I really appreciate all of you guys watching my videos and for supporting my channel. Well, let's get into it. So even though Gypsy Rose Blanchard has told people multiple times over and over again that she would not be posting her child in any regard, basically in order to protect her child's privacy.
No, I'm not going to show her. No, I made a choice a long time ago that I wasn't going to show her on social media. It's to respect her privacy. We're trying to keep her as private as we possibly can. I said a long time ago I'm not going to try to be a mommy influencer. I'm not going to try and post about her. That's just, I'm a new mom. I'm protective of her, and there's just a lot of creeps out there, so it's just the best for her to keep her out of it.
Obviously that's a good move. Especially with her size of following, I think it's a very good thing to not post anything about her child, just because there are people, whether they support her or not, you just really shouldn't do that depending on the size of your following. Going outside of personal friends and family, which I've done that too. I've taken this videos and stuff down that I had of my son before I started really working on content and stuff like that, which I didn't have anything here on YouTube, but she did end up posting another photo today, which I guess I don't really know if it would qualify as showing the child. I'm kind of on the fence about if it really counts, because obviously we're not seeing her face. She wouldn't easily be recognizable. So, it could go either way. It's technically not showing the child's face, but she really didn't specify either way. She really just kind of said mostly that she wasn't going to be doing anything related to her child whatsoever on social media, which I find it interesting that she's only posting photos of Ken with the baby, and she's not really posting photos of her with the baby. And if you guys ever watched that live that she did, it might have been on Red Note or something like that, she was talking about how Ken was the one that wanted that photo posted in the first place, and she didn't want that photo posted of them in the hospital, which I find it kind of ironic given that in her newest trailer that really shows them being filmed in the hospital. So I'm going to play a couple parts of her newest trailer and then go through those. I don't know exactly how much time I can put into it without it being a copyright violation, so it might just depend, but let's go through that and then see what we think about it.
We met for the first time.
I got back with the man that I truly love. We're unexpectedly expecting.
I wish she had gotten through this divorce before this happened.
Ryan texted me. He has lingering hope that I will go back to him, even with the pregnancy.
If I am the father, I will do my responsibilities.
I never had any doubts of who the father was. I'm gonna have a paternity test done for Ryan's speculation.
Life is throwing us a lot of curveballs right now.
I'm still on parole, so we can't live together. What is this? The hairbrush of an ex-girlfriend. Sheriff's office. I got death threats. People don't feel like I'm gonna be a good mother because of what my mom put me through. Let me prove you wrong.
I feel like surely by now Ken would at least have to somewhat realize that her story of becoming unexpectedly pregnant is just totally illogical, and it doesn't make any sort of sense. So I wonder if it just kind of irks him a little bit whenever she's we're so unexpectedly expecting a baby, when she might as well have just done IVF, because she was clearly planning the entire thing from start to finish. And if it was so unexpected, it could have very easily been Ryan's baby. But for her to know for certain without a shadow of a doubt that it was Ken's indicates that the baby was planned, which, whatever, she can try to play it off as it wasn't. But if anything, I would believe more than likely Gypsy checked out the book How to Get Pregnant instead of Dee Dee. That's just my opinion. And I'm really not entirely sold yet on whether or not Ryan really believed the baby was his or not, because honestly, he's I feel for him slightly, but I almost don't, because it's like, one, duh. What did you expect would happen whenever you're going into a prison and marrying somebody? But she's got some kind of ability, I guess. I don't know. Ryan has a history of saying over and over that he's totally over Gypsy and that he's moving on and that he doesn't want anything to do. He's accepted it. He never believed the baby was his own, and I want to believe it, but I also don't, because he has messaged her in the past. I remember I watched part of a live that he had done, and he was like, nope, I'm done with Gypsy, I'm wanting to move on, blah, blah, blah. I think it was after the whole, like, weird Oscar video that Gypsy did when she was basically trying to get back at Ryan, from my interpretation of that, where she was flirting, like, oh, you know, you would take me back type of video.
You have to be crazy not to take me back.
Obviously, unless her and Ken were broken up, which I still don't believe that they are broken up, clearly by the Valentine's Day picture they posted together today. And then obviously Gypsy was hacked and some of her messages were released, and then clearly we know some people made fake messages and tried to pass it off as Ryan's, and I made a video about that. You can go check that out, I guess, and go over which ones are real and which ones are fake. But there was one real one where it was like, I miss you or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So I know that he's really still holding on, and he probably won't move on, because I think she just speaks to them or about them in such a way that it just keeps him holding on. In some way, she targets these people. I think she genuinely fell in love with Ken in the way that she can, if that makes sense. I don't think she can in typical standards, but in the way that she can, she developed that obsession with Ken, and that's why she had to, you know, immediately abandon the marriage to Ryan and go back to Ken, because he left her. But I don't know, I'm not entirely sold on whether or not Ryan really didn't think that it was his baby when Gypsy said so, especially because he did say in the last season that Gypsy sent him a picture of a pregnancy test or whatever, or maybe it wasn't in the season, it was just on TikTok. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if he really did think it was his baby, and even if it was Ken's, he would probably raise that kid as his own. I feel like that's just how attached he is to Gypsy, and he genuinely fell in love with her, and I don't think he's gonna get over it. I think he does whatever she wants, whenever she wants. And I think that's why people haven't really been seeing a whole lot of him, except for that one rumor that he was actually at the Post Malone concert at the same time as Gypsy. I don't know if that's even true, but there was a video circling around that there was a guy who was kind of like the same build as Ryan, and it sounded like his voice in some way, and they were looking at her as she was walking by. So it wouldn't surprise me, given that Gypsy had went to a football game or something like that at the exact same time that Ryan was going, although they didn't see each other. Seems a little bit planned. Clearly she has some troubles letting go of her previous partners. That's a history with her, and I think that's what her motive is. So I don't really think she would let Ryan go, even though she left him. I think she'll keep him on the hook just to have him there and to exert some sort of power over him. You know what I mean? And technically, Ryan does have the right to literally question whether or not the kid is his. Because, I mean, if the timelines are just slightly off, then it could easily make it his child. Given that Gypsy did give birth a month early, and I'll have to go back and try to look and see if there's ever been photos of Ken's childhood being posted, but I feel like with the photos that she's posted and the amount of hair, the dark hair, which I know babies can kind of change their hair color as they get older, but I feel like Gypsy did not have that much hair. That is a very, very interesting head of hair. I think that's beautiful. I think the baby is very precious, and I hope the best for the baby, truly. I feel sorry for the baby a little bit, and I don't want anything bad to happen whatsoever, and I think all babies are precious. So that's just me. I did see another individual comment about when they're, I guess, doing their little cheers toasting moment, and it looked like it was wine in Gypsy's glass. And obviously we know that when you're on parole, you're not supposed to do any sort of substance. That is very much against the rules. And I want to show you guys a video clip of how Gypsy told Ryan Anderson that she was not allowed to be around alcohol. One of my followers on TikTok actually sent me this video, so I really appreciate that. And it just shows that she has been lying about whenever she went to the Post Malone concert, that she's allowed to be around alcohol, just not like bars. Which is, I mean, that's not what she had said, so let's look at that really quick.
You can go in bars, you just can't drink.
Can't go in an establishment that the primary thing being sold was alcohol.
Really?
Says so on my paperwork.
So clearly it's very obvious that she said she's read her parole agreement and she's very much aware of the terms and condition of that parole, but conveniently switches out what is allowed or what's not allowed. I mean, obviously we don't know because we can't see her actual agreement or whatever it is that she was given. So I don't know. I don't think she's supposed to be around alcohol, but I think they give her a slap on the wrist. Or if anything, they just don't care. They're probably, what's the word? Enamored by her in some way, or they feel inspired by her because they also believed her story about what she went through. And I mean, yeah, if you're just looking at it surface level and you look at those pictures of her, it does not look good. But there's people that will actually go out there and do the research and look into things and be like, that's not right. And I feel like that's what really needs to be the focus of things, and not so much like irrelevant drama, but just actually proving that the case as itself is really, it's all a lie. And Gypsy herself has not been rehabilitated in any sort of way. I feel like it would almost be different even if all that same stuff did happen, even if we still know the information that we do, that it's false information and it's lies. If she had rehabilitated, it may have been a different story, but the fact is that she has not. She does not care for rules because she literally can't. It's like she cannot care about any rules or regulations because of who she is as a person and as an individual, and the thing that I believe that she actually suffers with, being a sociopath. They do not care about society or standards in society. If you give them a rule, they don't care, they're gonna break it. They'll follow it as it benefits them, but the second that it doesn't or they don't like it, they're not gonna follow it. So for example, at the Post Malone event or whatever, when they were at the restaurant with her friend, the waitress sat and drank down, which I saw this video on Reddit that somebody had went and found, and I feel like it's a very, very good point, and I want to bring it to your attention.
Thank you so much. What time is it?
She ordered a drink, and typically whenever you're getting a non-alcoholic beverage, everybody knows they'll call it a virgin drink, and they have to specify it, and they give it in different cups. And I almost was like a Manhattan or a Metropolitan. I'm probably gonna mix those up throughout this video, to be honest. But I'm not much of a drinker. If I did, it was like straight whiskey. But I don't drink anymore, do anything like that. So I'm not super familiar with mixed drinks or stuff like that. It's not my thing. But so they sat that Metropolitan down. I actually went and looked up the ingredients, and it is a vodka-based drink. Don't know the difference between any of them, but the fact that they did not differentiate between a virgin drink or not, and the fact that she was apparently out till 4 o'clock in the morning, which I did not know that originally when I had posted my other videos about her outing, that's concerning to me. And it's more so concerning the fact that they just let her get away with stuff because they believe she has power and influence. And there's literally not a worse person that you could give power or influence to. It just is so crazy to me. It's funny that Gypsy literally exhibits the exact same behaviors as what she called Ryan out for, being controlling and jealous and insecure. Clearly we can see that by even bringing up the fact that he had an old hairbrush in there that he probably hasn't seen in a year. Because typically guys don't really care about that kind of stuff. There's no reason for him to want to hold on to that hairbrush as if it's some sentimental thing. Maybe if it was a whole photo album of him and his ex-girlfriend, that would be a little bit concerning, but a hairbrush or a bobby pin or something like that just screams red flag and insecure to me. And I think she knows that. And I'm not entirely sure if it was going to come off as a joke type of thing. It very easily could have been just a playful haha type of thing, but I think deep down Gypsy really is that insecure, given that Ken has already left her in the past. She's gonna hold on to him. Obviously she's got him in some way, but she wants the people to want her, whether she's with them or not. She likes to hold and maintain that control the same way that she even does with Nick, still holding out and wanting to watch him, even whenever there was that whole thing about Nick coming out and speaking for the first time independently and giving his side of things. Gypsy had she was gonna watch the video and she was excited for him, even though she described him to be a psychopath, abusive person. I would not really be excited for that, for somebody to give their side of the story if they had been so cruel and evil to me. That's just my opinion. But she likes to keep a hold on them, and that's why she tried so many times to try to contact people in prison to get contact with Nick. She wants to make sure that she can maintain this grasp and control over them by using whatever kind of method of charming, especially towards men, that she does, and that's obviously done with being overly seductive and sexualized. I don't know if you guys have seen those posts that were going around about Gypsy Rose Blanchard's letters that were from prison that were released. They were really, really graphically overly sexualized, and that's one of the main things that a sociopathic female will use, is methods of seduction in order to especially manipulate males. So they will be overly sexual. There's always like that effort to maintain as if you're innocent. You know what I mean? Like the virginal slut. It's like totally opposite, but even Gypsy was doing it with Ryan, saying, oh, I just want him to make sweet love. I've never experienced that type of, blah, 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 like very cringy, very graphic details about things. And she does it with multiple people. It's not like just one time that she's done this. She's done it to so many different partners that she's had. So she definitely has a certain specific way that she goes about things in order to trick these guys. And a lot of the times, unfortunately, guys will think with not their brain. You know what I mean? But when I was scrolling through TikTok, watching that Lifetime promo, I found it to be very intriguing the way that there are so many people that, in spite of having content creators or whoever posting information about Gypsy, it's a very niche area. There's not a whole lot of people that are really talking about it, and so they still do not know. An overwhelming majority of people were commenting saying, I believe in you. You're gonna make a great mom. I don't know why people hate her. She was abused her entire life. All of these things, and it's just like, this is the purpose of it, is because she's playing you guys and she's getting a Lifetime show. So of course Lifetime wouldn't promote a liar. Lifetime would never promote anybody that purposely murdered their mother and then lied to the entire public. No, she was abused. All those hundreds of surgeries, like, just because she says it doesn't make it true, but people fail to grasp that. And I've always said that I feel like it's a good majority of the time, people that have experienced abuse will latch on to people that they view as inspiring or doing something that they wish that they could do, or overcoming that hurdle because they've been there. And I think that's one of the worst things that you can do, is to not remain objective and to place yourself and latch on to these people, because there are people that lie and will use that for sympathy. That's just a fact. You cannot believe every single person that claims that they're a victim. You just can't. Especially, like, for example, Blake Lively. Everybody immediately flipped to her side whenever she started coming out with the information that she did about the director of that movie. And then, oh, lo and behold, it was actually her that was manipulating things behind the scenes. And I'm very much all for listening and finding out all of the information before you make a decision. I've said before in some comments on my other videos that I've pretty much just started neutral about Gypsy. I was kind of intrigued by her and her case, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I support her, or oh my god, like, I can't stand her. I was just, I don't care, almost. I still watch the show, and I was watching the way that she was interacting with Ryan, and then, the fact that people even still defend her for that, and the way that Ryan was so clingy and controlling, well, like, duh. Look at the outcome. It was amazing to me that there was still comments like, oh yeah, I'm watching the first season, and Ryan was so controlling. Well, for good reason. He didn't push her to that. She made him become that way. If you don't give your partner a reason to doubt if you're faithful or not, there's no reason for that insecurity to take root. Personally, I almost feel like it's not even going to be anything related to the case that will actually get her canceled, and it will just be like whenever she finally gets off parole and is able to feel more free to do stuff that she wants to do, and it will be her own behavior. I don't think she's just going to go quietly off into the distance when she gets off parole. I think she's very much going to push herself out there more, especially as the baby gets older and maybe people move on from the fact that she had a baby. I mean, it is relatively recent that she's just given birth, but I think she can't help herself to put herself out there in a way that, although she's saying one thing, she'll do the exact opposite just because she wants to do it, and she really doesn't mean what she says when she says it. I thought it was a little bit interesting because the way that Lifetime makes it look like she had to call the police over receiving death threats. She'll probably, which there's been speculation that Lifetime has been reaching out to content creators to, I guess, ask permission to use their content, obviously to make it like a montage of hate towards Gypsy, which is probably very likely thing. I don't know. I didn't check any of my emails, and I probably doubt that they even looked at my profile, so good for me. Definitely wouldn't put myself on anything like that on that TV show, and I really hope that everybody said no, that they did ask, because I've spoken to other content creators that have been asked, and I really hope that they said no and didn't actually try to, although it could be a good opportunity, like strategically, like planning ahead for your channel or whatever. I just feel like it's not a good look to be a part of it, because you're essentially benefiting her and her motives, because that's what they're after. They're after what Gypsy can do for them, and in order to do that, they have to put Gypsy in the best light possible. So I also want to encourage you guys, don't leave like too crazy of hate comments against her. Like, don't threaten her life, don't do anything like that, you know. Don't call CPS on her unless you literally are around her or her family and you see something. I think it will just ultimately backfire on people, and it doesn't accomplish what they had hoped. I think that's kind of what happened with the whole like reporting to the parole board and stuff like that, and that's why she literally is free to do whatever she wants, and it's like she's not even on parole. You know what I mean? I think too many false calls about certain little things that they really don't care about, especially it being Gypsy, is the reason why she gets away with so much stuff, and she's not even concerned about parole. I think the only time she was actually concerned about it is when her friend Bree like was trying to tell her to lie to people. But
Fate will be decided tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully they need, I mean, I don't know, I feel like they should have to need, they should have to need proof. Like, they can't just use a text. I feel like not even text message. They should have, like, I don't know, somebody could have got hold of your phone, like,
Wow.
Yes, that's why I feel like there's no way they could send you back to prison on this. Like, I would even bring up that, be like, I absolutely did never, like, I would be like, I would lie. I would say, absolutely didn't, and be like, there has to be a way that this text message was, like, falsified or whatever. Like, I don't know, I would just fight for your life, girl, because there are ways. That's the reason I feel like, at the end of the day, like, they would have to prove it, because there are ways for people to do that. There are actual apps, girl, real apps that will show it's your phone number, even though it's not. Oh, shit.
But of course, we don't actually know when they're investigating or she's getting violations or things like that, and they're obviously not going to put that out there. And there's always like a bunch of speculation and rumors about, oh, she's going to go back to prison or whatever. I feel like that's probably not a likely scenario. I feel like, if anything, she should not be on TV, and she should not have a platform to manipulate people. That's what I feel. I don't see her going back to prison unless she creates a new problem or commits a new crime in some way. I could see it then, but I really don't feel like she's gonna go back for that previous crime in spite of the lies, because that would have to make the court system and the legal system have to admit that they messed up, and they don't like to do that. They really, really, really hate to do that, actually. They really hate to admit that they made a mistake, or they made a wrong turn, or they didn't investigate something properly. And they always try to avoid that as much as possible, because they don't want people to lose faith in the justice system. I mean, obviously it's not the best, because there's hundreds and thousands of stories of people that have been wrongly convicted or whatever. Make a lot of mistakes, so they don't try to go out of their way to add a new one to the list, basically. But I want to know what you guys think about this new promo. What do you guys think about some of the comments she received, or her parole violations, or going back and forth on what actually violates parole, kind of confusing the public? What do you really want to see be the outcome of this? Is it you want her to go back to prison, or what do you expect to actually come out of this? I mean, everybody can have this crazy hope that she somehow manages to make a mistake and then she actually is sentenced to life in prison, or whatever their hope is, but I feel like it's a little bit unrealistic. But let me know what you think. Even if you disagree with that, let me know what your thought process is. And the trailer, or are you gonna watch the show, or try to just get clips of it online like I pretty much do? I try to avoid looking at her stuff, actually. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Thank you for watching and for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button so you can keep up with my other content as it comes out. I will see you guys next time. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.